All right, Las Vegas Raiders. A eventful offseason, to say the least. Three most important positions in the building. Head coach, GM, quarterback, all new faces there for this Raiders team. John Spytek, your new GM. Pete Carroll, your new head coach. And Geno Smith, the splash move of the offseason for the Raiders, your new quarterback. They retained a lot of talent. Max Crosby signs an extension. Malcolm Kuntz back in the fold. Some losses, though, I will say, on the defensive side of the football. Losing guys like Robert Spillane, losing guys like Trayvon Merrick. Those are going to hurt for this Raiders team. But then in the draft, I think they add a lot of immediate impact sort of guys. Jack Bech, one of your most polished wide receivers in this draft class. Ashton Jeanty, obviously the RB1 in this draft class. Darian Porter, a Pete Carroll type of cornerback in the third round. So it was a great offseason, in my opinion. I went A-. I still don't think it's necessarily, there's still big holes. You go throughout the roster, especially in the secondary for the Raiders, and it's like, oh, that could be ugly. But I thought they nailed the head coaching hire, especially when you got Chip Kelly as your OC. I think they nailed the quarterback acquisition in Geno Smith. I thought they made great decision after great decision. Actually, I feel like I'm being even a little too harsh on them, going A-. It's an A. It is an A offseason for me. It was just finally the Raiders making some good decisions here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with an A. And obviously, I've got my eye on the Raiders a little bit differently than I have my eye on some of these other teams. And I talk about the Raiders a lot with, the people in my family. My younger brother, Howie, he works for the stadium out there. He's in the scouting department for a long time. I've seen people come in and out of that building, no real sense of direction. You bring a guy like Pete Carroll in, you get that immediate juice. Also, Pete Carroll's been standing around trying to be convinced by his friends to get into golf, for the last calendar year or so. So he's got a fresh perspective on this thing. Everybody that plays for him loves the way that he approaches and constructs his schedules, and his day in, day out energy is fantastic. I've read a lot recently about biological age. Like I'm 36, but my biological age is probably like 50. Pete Carroll's biological age is like 22. And I think it's because he beats the shit out of that gum when he chews it. Geno Smith, immediate upgrade. They stole him from the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, getting Max Crosby back in the building is massive. You talked about the loss of Spillane, the toughness, the leadership there in the middle of the field. That's going to be hard to replicate. But they got my guy, Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly, offensive coordinator. He's got one really solid tight end and one other worldly tight end. I anticipate them being in 12 personnel all the time. A guy you didn't list, round 3, pick 35. Round 3, 35. What is that? Round 3, pick 35. Charles Grant.
Overall.
Why is there a 35 next to the round 3? Charles
35th
Grant.
pick in the third round, because
35th pick in the. So we love this guy, Charles Grant from William Mary.
Yes, we do.
I think he has all the traits to be a killer in this league, and he's only going to get better. Relatively new to football. Their offensive line is already pretty decent. They got a lot better with Charles Grant. Ashton Jeanty, I can't wait to watch him in the silver and black. There's a couple guys who are just born to be Raiders. I think Jeanty's one of those dudes. Obviously, my dad played with a couple really good running backs for the Raiders. Marcus Allen, Bo Jackson, to name two of those guys. Ashton Jeanty has the ability to be in the same kind of trophy room as those guys, in my opinion. And they're a team that's ready to utilize him because of the nature of their roster. They've got a pretty good O-line. They've got 2 tight ends. They can remain balanced. Geno Smith is a dude in this league, and he revitalized his career a few years ago, and he's been extremely productive ever since. I think that the Raiders fans will love Geno Smith. He truly is a Pirate. He's a Raider. I can't wait to watch it. And, this division is going to get crazy now with Las Vegas, Denver, LA, and Kansas City. It's going to be a shootout every week. It's going to be hard-nosed defense, and it's going to be pounding the rock in Las Vegas, and then downtown Julie Brown shots with Geno Smith. I can't wait to watch it. I give him an A. Obviously, I'm partial to the silver and black. Yeah, Raider Nation.
I'm very excited to watch this Raiders team. 1, because I think the offense is going to be so much better than it was a year ago. 2, because we never got to see this defensive line last year. You remember coming into the year where they had just added Christian Wilkins. Malcolm Kuntz was like ready for a breakout year. It was or had just come off kind of a breakout year. Tyree Wilson heading into year 2, your top 10 pick on the defensive end. And then Wilkins goes down. Kuntz goes down. Tyree Wilson starts off slow. By the end, though, looked like a much better player. Now all those guys are back. Now, not like that defensive line that everyone wanted to see should, knock on wood, be healthy. And I think that, when you have a great defensive line, it can cover up some holes in the secondary. And boy, do they have holes in the secondary. But if there's one thing we know about Pete Carroll, it's he has gotten, as the guy who started off as a DB's coach, he has been able to get the most out of, they didn't invest in corners in Seattle. They had a lot of day 3 guys that turned into starters and high quality players at the cornerback position. Pete Carroll, obviously one of the best identifiers of talent at that position in the NFL and one of the best developers as well. So I think this Raiders team, 6.5 wins right now is their win projection total. They're going over that. They're going over that this year. This Raiders. All right.
They drafted a guy named Tonka Hemingway. Okay. I just love that. I just love that name. Tonka Hemingway, right there, round 4, defensive tackle, South Carolina. Tonka Hemingway. There he is.
Do you think he's actually named Tonka, or was it like after the Tonka trucks? Like
Gosh, I pray that when he was like 2 or 3, his aunt was like, that dude is big as hell. I'm going to call him Tonka. He's like a truck. And then they were just like, no, that's his name now. I love that. I love that.
It is not his real name. His real name is Terrell Tonka Hemingway. All right, Denver Broncos, who had, for my money, one of, if not the best offseason, just in terms of like hit after hit after
football
hit.
Players.
No fat on this offseason. Right? Everything just made sense. Their additions in free agency, Talanoa Hufanga at safety, Dre Greenlaw at linebacker. What do we say was like the one thing missing from this defense? Guys who could play second level run defenders.
This name list.
Well, that too when they're on the 49ers, but second level run defenders. These two are some of the best in the NFL at that. Evan Ingram, a weapon at tight end for Bo Nix. Now, did they add enough at receiver to really reach like a high-powered offense? TBD, we'll see, but it's going to look different because RJ Harvey, their second rounder, I think they're going to run the ball a lot more effectively. Hard to run it too much less effectively than they did a year ago. Going to run the ball a lot more effectively, and maybe that's all you need to run a high-level offense. And then the Jahdae Barron pick to kind of add just some more oomph to the secondary that was already one of the best in the NFL. Now I think it's pretty clearly the best in the NFL. Coming off your, defensive player of the year, Pat Surtain, Riley Moss, a breakout player, adding Talanoa Hufanga next to Brandon Jones. There's not many places to attack this team. So for the Denver Broncos, A+ offseason.
You know who else really liked the second round pick for the Broncos was Sean Payton's daughter. He tweeted a picture of his daughter with RJ Harvey. He said, when your daughter likes your second round pick. And to be honest, it looks like he looks like a really friendly guy. She seems cool. I just saw that Sean Payton was getting killed on the internet. And these guys that are his age, they just don't understand what they're doing, man. They're just out here firing off tweets. I guess the word would be just kindly sending out tweets. Like my dad doesn't even really think about some of the things that he says in a good way. Like he's pure of heart. Sean Payton. When your daughter likes your second round pick, well, he's going to be great for the Broncos, as you just laid out so eloquently there, Mike. We love Bo Nix. We love Bo Nix. We love the list of guys that they brought in defensively for the Denver Broncos. My only question is, are they going to be healthy? And if they are healthy, it is like when you go to the casino and you pull on the thing and it says 777. That's jackpot, baby. That's what Sean Payton and his group have done this offseason. I love it. You went A-. You went A+. I went A just because, A+, man, they're tough. Jahdae Barron, one of my favorite guys in the draft. This guy is just a football player. When I think about the Broncos now, I just think about football players. Like Sean Payton has found a way to bring in a bunch of guys who are just really solid at this game. And, there's a lot of athletes in the NFL that aren't football players. There's a lot of football players in this building.
All right, let's get to the Los Angeles Chargers. who had a tremendous offseason a year ago, transformed their franchise back into a playoff contender. But they're still kind of in a weird cap spot with all the bad contracts they had on this team. So couldn't go out and spend a ton of money. Their additions, Mike Williams is back in a Chargers jersey. Not sure that's a super impactful decision, but he's back. Najee Harris they added. Dante Jackson to play cornerback. Mekhi Becton to be your right guard. But this one's all about the draft. I thought they had an outstanding draft. Omarion Hampton, Trey Harris, Jamari Caldwell, some day 3 guys that people love. Keandre Lambert-Smith, I'm a huge fan of. Kyle Kennard to play off the edge as well. So it was a very good draft. But I do think that losing Joey Bosa, who obviously didn't play a lot last year, but losing him, losing Christian Fulton, and losing Poona Ford, who to me is the biggest one because he was a cornerstone to their run defense that was so good a year ago. I just look at this roster and I still see some holes. I wonder if they're going to be players for some more free agents in the in the weeks to come before this season, especially on the defensive interior or in that secondary. So TBD on that, but I just look on paper and I think they're not quite like, I think the Broncos passed them, and I think the Chiefs are obviously still a clear tier above them.
Had I regraded this, I would have gone B+, but I wrote A in our Google Doc. I love Omarion Hampton. I thought he was going to potentially be a Chicago Bear down the line somewhere, but he got picked up by these guys. You bring in Mekhi Becton, who obviously had a fantastic year in Philadelphia, and there's still going to be people that are saying, well, he played next to so-and-so. He played next to so-and-so. He had Stalin as the O-line coach. Well, at the end of the day, he can take that knowledge with him and bring it to the Chargers. I love their style of play. I just recently watched the Chargers-Bengals Monday Night Football game from last year. Justin Herbert's unbelievable. If you can get a real playmaker at the running back position, if you can get some more offensive linemen in there for Justin Herbert, it'll be scary. And, I see a retained guy in Khalil Mack, and I just think about how some guys are just ageless wonders. And I'm so happy that he's still there and he has an opportunity to compete in that division again. Jim Harbaugh, we're going to find out if he got all the taste of the previous administration out of these guys' mouths, because obviously we saw they could run the football. They were tough. They played good defense, but it was those close games that they were still struggling to win. That was the complaint about Brendan Staley's group. Obviously not the same reasons for losing those close games, but eventually you figure out how to win, and that carries through week in, week out. I'm excited about this group. I'm still waiting for Justin Herbert to get over the hump as, one of the guys in the National Football League.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I think Trey Harris, to me, is the most intriguing draft pick. Like, we know behind this O-line, Omarion Hampton's going to have a great season. There's no debating that. That's just the type of player he is. That's how good this offensive line is. But they need someone besides Ladd McConkey. Just anyone to be a modicum of reliable. And I think Trey Harris could very easily be that guy very early on for this Chargers team. And so that's why I think if I'm looking at most impactful draft pick, he has a good shot to be that for this Chargers team. All right, last up in our series, Kansas City Chiefs, your AFC champions from a year ago. 15 wins. Vegas hasn't projected at only 11.5 this season, and not a lot of people buying on the over. It's at minus 102 right now. So people are thinking they might go under that number. Obviously, they had some big losses. You lost Joe Thuney along your offensive line. You lost Justin Reed in your secondary, 2 guys who played a big role on that team a year ago. But this offseason was about retain Trey Smith, retain Nick Bolton, retain Hollywood Brown. A couple good additions. I think Christian Fulton, Jalen Moore, I think will be impact players. I think both will be starters. Obviously, Jalen Moore at left tackle, Christian Fulton at cornerback. Their draft, though, I think if this Chiefs team is going to make it to where they want to make it to, it's going to come down to Josh Simmons, your first rounder, Kingsley Suamataia or Wanye Morris taking the lead, like really becoming a quality starter. One of those guys can be your quality starter at left guard. Jalen Moore comes in and can do the same at left tackle. All of a sudden, all bets are off. This could be one of the best, if not the best offense in the NFL. If that doesn't happen, you still have the same issues you had a year ago where Pat Mahomes does not trust his blind side. I don't think this team is going back to the Super Bowl because I just don't think this defense has the same teeth. I think they've lost too much, losing guys like Turk Wharton as well. Like, it's just, they should be taking a step back, but we'll see. I gave him a B+ offseason because there really wasn't much else they could do. And I thought in the draft, they added a lot of great talent, especially later on. Noel Williams, Jalen Royals, Jeffrey Bassa, and Brashard Smith. I loved all of those picks for them. So good job offseason, but this was kind of a long time coming, the slow deterioration of this team.
Yeah, I'm with you in terms of, it's tough to see so many guys out the door. I mean, you know how much I love watching Joe Thuney play for the Chiefs, the positional versatility that he has for Andy Heck's offensive line room. But to your point, one of those three guys has to step up. Kingsley, Wanye, or the new guy, Josh Simmons. And Josh Simmons is obviously, in my opinion, the best of the bunch. How healthy is he? Are they going to try to rush him back? Because I think they might slow play him. The
high risk of re-injury with that patellar. That's
slow playing, man. Yeah. Slow playing. It'll make everybody better. These other guys will get reps, game reps, all that. At the receiver position is what I've got my eyes on this coming season, because all these guys have been in the building. Not all of them have been on the field together because there have been injuries. There's been a number of things that happen. But when you've got all this speed in that receiver room, we've seen what happens in years past with, in my opinion, lesser guys like Mecole Hardman enjoyed success in this offense. Imagine Hollywood Brown with all these cast of speedy characters out there. It could be a lot of fun. To your point, if things do go as well as they plan, this could be one of the best offenses in football. But the floor is a lot lower than that. So it starts with the offensive line and answering those questions, and it finishes with how healthy is this group going to be?